Howdy, 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 my name's Anachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. Now, in the last episode I said that this time I was going to do some of the Resurrection A9, and then the next episode I was going to start with the SCP entries. I'm no longer going to do that due to the fact that I had 2 days of not doing an SCP episode, and I just want to go back to the entries. However, I have discovered that I'm actually almost done with the Resurrection A9 section. I believe I gotta read at the very least, I got Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Huntsman, and then down to these. But I also took a look at this box here, which I think I have completely ignored under the assumption that it took place after all this shit. And it would seem that this box, it would seem that this box is both stuff for the sake of writing for it, or also keeping track of the important things to be read, in addition to all of this stuff. So, the next time I tackle Resurrection A9, I'm going to do my best to make it be 2 or 3 more episodes top to finish. It depends on how long these other things are, because it would seem that since the last time I came in here, these 3 stories weren't even here yet. So those are new. And it looks like this one's just going to keep getting longer. So once I get through these stories up to loosen up a bit, and then read these 2 future things, I'll just have to keep checking back every now and then to see if they've added more to it. But in the meantime, it's time to read A World in a Bottle. Also, this episode might be unlike last week when I didn't do episodes and I made one be double long, I'm not sure if I'm going to do that this time. I'm going to see how far I get. So, World in a Bottle. Which is safe. And pretty. SCP-300 is stored in a locked and climate-controlled container at Site Blank. Experimentation on SCP-300 may only be performed with prior written permission from at least one Level 3 senior researcher, and any observations must be made must be recorded for later analysis. Now, what is it? It consists of an antique glass perfume bottle, 1, containing approximately 2.4 cc of an unidentified colorless liquid, 2. When a single drop of 2 is extracted from 1 and the drop is viewed through a standard optical microscope, an animated scene becomes visible. While no 2 drops have shown precisely the same scene, these scenes generally take the form of a pastoral or woodland scenes, consistent with that of Victorian-era England. I'm not sure why I just said England like that. I think my tongue just went crazy. So far, attempts to analyze the exact chemical components of 2 have inexplicably failed, with spectrometers reporting wildly variant or false data, thus making attempts at replicating it impossible. 2 also invariably evaporates within 2 to 8 hours after being drawn outside of 1, despite all attempts at stabilizing the substance or controlling laboratory conditions. 300 was first documented, along with Redacted, after being recovered from the attic of a row home in Redacted, UK on blank blank 1863, following a raid by agents of the Royal Society for the Security, Containment, and Protection of Anomalous Artifacts. 300 was transferred to the SCP Foundation possession on blank blank 19-something. Addendum 1, Experiment Log Abridged. I don't feel any need to read that. Incident 12. On blank blank 19-something, Dr. Blank was found dead in Laboratory C, with the cause of death being self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Laboratory video surveillance showed Dr. Blank obsessively viewing a recent recording from a 300 experiment, becoming increasingly agitated until he pulled out his sidearm and took his own life. Upon investigation, the recording was identified and analyzed as a 3-hour-long recording made during an experiment on blank blank 19-something. The recording shows a young woman of approximately blank years of age sitting in an armchair and embroidering an article of clothing while singing to herself. Further investigation showed a startling resemblance between the woman and Dr. Blank's late wife, who died during Redacted, up to and including a birthmark visible on the left side of her neck. Experimentation on 300 has been temporarily placed on hold pending research into possible telepathic or memory-affecting capabilities. 303. Inscription located on the back of 300. A world in a bottle for my beloved Nora. That's a cool way to write someone's initials. Is it WA or is it AW? We may never know. Now it's time for a teleporter. Which is Euclid. I mean, I imagine a teleporter would be less than safe. Okay. SCP-301 is to be kept in a secure, electromagnetically sealed bunker buried at least 10 meters under at least 10 meters of Earth to conceal its location. The bunker is to be staffed by no fewer than 4 Level 3 security personnel at all times in order to secure the site and to maintain automated security measures. The perimeter of the bunker is to be lined with a chain-link fence with official warnings to deter intruders. Due to the remote location of 301, additional security is not required. During experiments, all research staff and equipment must maintain a minimum distance of at least 3 meters from the projected edge of 301. In the event of a containment breach, on-site personnel with the proper security clearance are authorized to implement Emergency Protocol C-301. All possible entrances to the bunker will automatically seal themselves and remain sealed indefinitely. Emergency Protocol C-301 can only be countermanded by an O5 level command. Description: 301 is an anomalous region roughly 3 meters in diameter located in the middle of blank National Park. I want to say Yellowstone. But, I don't know. Yellowstone has a whole other thing going on in the SCP Foundation. Whenever physical matter enters 301, it temporarily disappears from existence. Following a delay of variable length, the matter that had entered 301 will appear in another location. The duration of this time delay is variable with a minimum length of blank seconds and a maximum length of blank minutes. The exact destination appears to be a random vertex point on a geodesic grid overlaying the Earth's surface. Each leg of this pattern is approximately 20 kilometers long, resulting in blank possible destination points. The prevailing model of 301's workings is that teleportation occurs by accessing a coterminus? Coterminus? I'm going to say coterminus. Interspatial region lying in a frame of reference attached to the center of the Earth. SCP-301 is invisible to the naked eye, but is detectable through other spectra. 301 also passively emits electromagnetic energy. While not harmful to living organisms, it does interfere with improperly shielded electronics, and may explain why the native fauna does not venture near 301. Through experimentation, it's been discovered that 301 can accommodate any kind of physical matter within certain thresholds. The maximum size that 301 can accommodate can be no larger than the 3-meter diameter. There's also a minimum limit, though this is based on density rather than size. Currently, most gases and anything on a molecular level are not affected by 301. For further details, see experiment logs. 301 was discovered when there was a spike in disappearances of hikers and tourists in the blank National Park, only for several of them to be rediscovered far from the site of their disappearance. The Foundation did not act until it received reports of one of the missing hikers being found in blank France and another near blank New South Wales, Australia. Subsequent interviews with these individuals produced inconsistent descriptions of the event, even after the use of blank. Subject 301A1, retrieved in blank France, described the transfer as a floating cessation with a mild forward impetus, accompanied by the ringing of thousands of huge bells and smelling like wet dog and wood smoke, but having no other sensory components. However, 301A2, retrieved near blank New South Wales, Australia, described it as floating sensation with no sense of forward momentum, but including a salty taste, prickling feeling like a foot going to sleep over the entire body, and being able to see stringy stuff surrounding the subject. Both subjects were administered Class A Amnesiac and released. See document 301018468A for full interview transcripts. Is that even in here? Nope. Doesn't seem to be. While searching for the anomaly at blank National Park, Agents Blank and Blank accidentally entered 301. They disappeared for approximately blank minutes until the signals from their locator beacons were reacquired blank kilometers and blank kilometers from their last recorded positions, respectively. Agent Blank's body was recovered from a deep water retrieval team 43 kilometers south-southwest of blank India. Agent Blank was recovered near blank Angola, suffering from exposure, malaria, and amoebic dysentery. Damn! Foundation personnel were able to debrief Agent Blank before he died. Agent Blank characterized the teleportation experience as being swept by a strong current that stank of shit. He also stated that he saw flames and reported hearing sand falling, tasting sugar then dirt, and a repeating cycle. Agent Blank died 2 days later. Based on the agent's testimony, 301 was found to be located on a regularly used hiking trail. The Foundation rerouted the hiking trail and built the current facility containing 301. From information gathered from subjects A1 and A2 and Agent Blank, it appears that the interspatial region accessed upon entering 301 is experienced differently by each subject. This experience can manifest as a wide variety of sensory phenomena, including tactile, gustatory, olfactory, visual, oral, and kinetic sensations. Experiment with disposable dues to further study this aspect of 301 is recommended. A selection of post-experiment analyses are collected in Experiment Log 301C. Okay, Experiment Log A. Using remote exploration in conjunction with ongoing live experimentations, we have managed to map out much of the geodesic grid that 301 teleportation follows. While this has resulted in the discovery of a large number of sites that require Foundation monitoring, many of these sites are in locations that make monitoring them a moot point, i.e. the dozens of egress points that open in the middle of the ocean. Experiment Log B. After increasing the size of test materials, we finally found that 301 cannot accommodate items larger than itself. If a piece of matter that exceeds its 3-meter diameter is placed on 301, there will be no effect. This has been noted for future containment protocols. There is also a minimum limit for what 301 can accommodate. We've filled the containment room with easily detectable gases, as well as bombarding 301 with radioactive particles. However, there is no evidence of any of these substances being successfully transported. The prevailing hypothesis is that 301's minimum limit is based on density rather than size. Solids and liquids are affected, while gases and individual molecules are not. Experiment Log C. Entries include subject identification number, egress point, trip duration, followed by a listing of major sensory elements of the teleportation experience. Note that, for recovery purposes, all test subjects are equipped with a remote beacon harness that reports the subject's GPS coordinates to a Foundation satellite every 15 seconds from anywhere on Earth. Disposable Dude, 5738. They found him in Iowa somewhere, and they felt the sensation of slimy tendrils over their body. China? Floating sensation as through suspended liquid, a red transparent liquid environment. Report seeing many red blood cells like objects of approximately 3 centimeters to 50 centimeters in diameter. Also reports seeing very large shadowy objects, coppery taste, feeling as though they're about to drown throughout brief traveling. This one went to Mexico, and it took some seconds. Rapid flying sensation. Seeing the terrain they normally would have traveled through to reach the endpoint of the teleportation process. They also report being unable to see their body. See below. Rushing wind, fresh bread. Subject also reports seeing a variety of semi-transparent organisms during transit. These creatures, data expunged. Okay. Germany, blank minutes. They didn't experience anything. They were retrieved exhibiting strong schizophrenia interspersed with lengthy periods of catatonia. This is the first time exposure to 301 has resulted in this level of mental trauma. Near Brazil, gentle forward movement. They were rendered blind and cannot recall any visual stimuli from their time in 301. There was cold moving across the left arm. First instance of exposure caused a physical change in subject. Near Laos. Free fall. Repeating complex multitonal scale. Foundation staff are currently attempting to recreate this scale. They smelled vinegar, and those sensors reported a blank second delay between entering and reappearing. They insisted that she had been in there for several days. Possibility of a time dilation effect should be investigated. Okay, near Canada. Flying sensation described as oddly slow. Reports seeing an unknown number of interlocking gears as far as she can see. Heard grinding gears, smelled oil. Upon return, exhibited an unusual fascination with machinery. 2 days later, they began asking personnel about several mechanical SCP objects, including that, and that, and displaying knowledge about them that only level 4 or higher staff could know. Subject interrogated and terminated 15 days ahead of schedule. I mean, they could have just used her to help instead of killing her. Like, if she was asking about the things and knew things about them that only the staff should know, I feel like they'd have done better having her help than just be like, hey, she knows too much. Bang! God, you are stupid. Okay, so, blank Siberia, Russia. Unknown, found bisected along the coronal plane, cause unknown. Near Florida. Floating, painfully bright white light, shouting voices, like everyone in the whole world was shouting at me at once. Didn't smell anything. They felt pain over their whole body, like having red hot needles stabbing every inch. Reports being watched and being judged. Okay, near Niger. Unknown. Several life forms of the types described by D26684 appear with subject. So that is killed and life forms data expunged. Area is sterilized. Yeah. Ant sculpture. Safe? Okay. 302 is to be kept in sight redacted under Safe 3 protocols. Artifact should be handled with gloves at all times, then utmost precautions should be taken to ensure the artifact does not make skin contact with unauthorized personnel. So I guess it's safe because it's a statue, but in terms of what it does, stay the hell away from it. Any personnel not scheduled for testing that begin showing signs of 302's effects may apply for termination. Apply? All subjects suffering from 302's affliction should be terminated after no longer than 8 days due to data expunged. 302 is a small tin sculpture with a bronze/patina finish depicting 2 ants carrying a leaf. Whenever a human makes direct skin contact with the artifact, they will invariably find a single small, relatively harmless ant on their person within 2 hours. This ant may belong to any of several different small ant species, and its appearance rarely causes much alarm. It is of note that in all recorded cases, subjects have always distinctly noticed the first ant and fully remember seeing it. Thereafter, an exponentially increasing number of ants will appear on the exposed subject by day. Throughout the entire day, the number of ants that appear seems to be in the range of 3x to 5x, where x is the number of days since initial contact with 302. As time progresses, the ants not only increase in number, but also change in species. Smaller, minimally harmful species appear at first, later transitioning to larger species or species with more painful stings or bites. Ants seem to appear out of the nearest unobserved space. This space includes from under clothes, nearby objects, or if left with no alternatives, bodily orifices. Ants seem singularly preoccupied with exploring or attacking the affected individual and will not stop until either themselves or the subject is deceased. Addendum 1. Subject of test log 2 was a single disposable dude. They were told he was to participate in a study testing how a week of relaxation might affect the performance of disposable dudes, and was kept in a relaxation chamber with exercise equipment, various books and magazines, and a color television. He was exposed to 302 without his knowledge. Days 1 and 2. Spends his time in leisurely pursuits, expresses great satisfaction, and reports nothing out of the ordinary. Reports a small ant problem and admits it is probably his fault for letting crumbs fall over the couch and carpet. Admits he noticed an ant 2 days previous but did not think it was worth mentioning. Subject reports great satisfaction otherwise and requests a can of bug spray. Subject reports that ant problems persist despite his best efforts to spray the room, and that the ants have become more numerous and occasionally painful. Subject reports that the ants seem bigger and different from the ones he saw the day before, still reports relative happiness with the experiment. Reports great annoyance and increased pain as ants are now nearly always on his person. They seem to have changed once more, becoming more aggressive and agitated. At this point, he clearly suspects ants are not of a normal nature. Subject in great pain. On average, 5 tropical green-head ants, blah 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 blah, are seen to appear every minute on subject throughout entire day. Subject becomes aggressive due to pain and demands to be released from chamber. Pretense for experiment has dropped and subject is restrained and given medical attention. In great pain, an average of 25 tropical fire ants are seen to appear every minute on subject. Subject requires continuous ant removal. Subject is heavily medicated and unconscious throughout majority of day. An average of 140 bullet ants appear on subject every minute. Rapid ant removal and anti-inflammatory medicine is necessary. Data expunged, subject and experiment are terminated. I wonder what happened on day 9. But let's see what these ants look like. Ah, jeez. It looks angry. And 140 of these bastards were appearing on the guy every... Oh, God, look at the size of it! It's the size of a piece of a pinky. And 140 of these were appearing every minute. Oh, jeez. No wonder day 9 was expunged. Who knows what the hell appeared on him on day 9. Now it's time for the doorman. Who is Euclid? 303 crouched behind a window door. What, cell phone? What do you want from me? Okay. As SCP-303 has not yet been known to travel beyond the boundaries of Site Blank, the entire area of Site Blank is currently considered 303's containment area. Dang. All rooms in Site Blank are to be altered where possible so as to have 2 entrances separated by a distance of 10 meters or line of sight. Personnel are to be distributed evenly throughout the facility with available radio or intercom contact so that encounters may be resolved quickly. Personnel who witnessed 303 are to be submitted for immediate psychiatric evaluation. Oh, jeez. Well, wait, is it that orb thing? Is that the SCP? I didn't even see that at first. All SCP objects housed at Site Blank since before June the 4th, 2010, unless that's April the 6th, 2010. Ooh. Are to be transferred to Site Blank B one at a time. Each SCP object will be transferred again to Site Blank A once it can be verified that 303 has not migrated from Site Blank with it. Once 303 either migrates from Site Blank B or remains at Site Blank once all SCPs in question have been transferred to Site A, containment procedures will be updated as appropriate. So, witnesses describe 303 as a nude, sexless, emaciated humanoid figure with reddish-brown skin. Instead of normal facial features, his head is dominated by an extremely large mouth, which bears a set of oversized human teeth. Yeah. It continually vocalizes a wheezing noise loud enough to be heard from the other side of most solid doors. All individuals who have had encounters with 303 are capable of describing it in full, including individuals who have not physically seen any part of it. 303 will periodically materialize behind any closed door, hatch, or other entryway barrier opposite a sentient observer chosen by unknown means. It will then remain behind the door for an indeterminate amount of time. Any individual attempting to open the door or barrier experiences intense, paralyzing fear that lasts until 303 dematerializes, either on its own or to avoid being directly seen by another observer. The source of this fear is not clear, but appears to be similar in nature to arachnophobia or however you say that one. Ophidiophobia? I wonder what ophidiophobia is. First, originating on a pre-conscious genetic level. What is this? Oh, okay. It's a fear of snakes. How do I pronounce it? Where's the thing that tells me how to pronounce it? Okay, cool. I had it right. It is ophidiophobia. And then it says data expunged. Analysis indicates that 303 is not, in fact, purposefully inducing fear in the affected individuals. How do you find out, what analysis was done that you were able to determine that this freaky looking thing on the other side of doors isn't giving people phobia on purpose? I feel like if I saw that thing looking at me from another side of a door, I would freak the hell out, and I feel like that's on purpose. Because no one's making it just be like, hello! Which is presumably the sound it makes while it stares at them. 303 does not allow itself to come into direct visual contact with any observer, and has never allowed any one individual to view it for more than 10% of its form. When the door or other entryway barrier is partially or completely transparent, 303 will materialize in an orientation that leaves 10% or less of its body visible, or cause effects of fog or frost on the transparent surface to achieve the same effect. If 303 is approached from a direction in which there is not a solid object or door breaking line of sight, it will dematerialize before direct visual contact is made. Any electronic or complex mechanical devices that 303 encounters are temporarily disabled. 303 has made no recorded attempt to physically or verbally engage any observer. How it arrived at Site Blank is not known at this time. Its first recorded appearance was on March the 1st, 2010. It is suspected that 303 was inadvertently transferred along with or manifested by another SCP on site. All SCPs on site are being examined accordingly. Incident Log A. Incident 1. Agent Blank was showering in her private quarters bathroom when she became aware of the presence of 303 on the opposite side of the shower curtain. It was wheezing extremely loudly. Startled by the discovery, she accidentally struck the shower curtain, causing it to sway outwards. The curtain partially wrapped around 303, revealing that it was standing less than half a meter away from the curtain, standing erect and facing the shower. Agent Blank reports spending approximately the next 3 hours sobbing in the shower, quietly as not to disturb 303. Agent Blank reported the wheezing stopped very suddenly, at which point in time she was able to exit the shower. Incident 3. Agent Blank encountered 303 inside the Site 2 Site Blank second floor break room. He was attempting to obtain coffee creamer from the counter cabinet when he heard loud wheezing emanating from the cabinet and was overtaken by overwhelming fear. Agent Blank later reported that 303 was huddled in the cabinet in the fetal position. Agent Blank claimed to be certain of the information despite failing to open the cabinet door. Later, when the cabinet was examined, one container of powdered coffee creamer was missing. This is the first recorded instance of 303 removing an object from a scene. Incident 6. Dr. Blank was discovered dead from dehydration in a second-floor storage room. It is estimated that Dr. Blank spent up to 5 days in the storage room before being discovered. A small 4-meter by 4-meter decompression chamber separated the storage room from the adjoining hallway. 303 occupied the decompression chamber for the duration of Dr. Blank's isolation in the storage room, disallowing entry from either direction and making it impossible for the doctor to leave. Testing Log A. A team consisting of Dr. Blank, Researcher Blank, 4 security personnel, and 4 disposable dudes were assigned to be dispatched to any reported incident of 303's materialization in order to immediately perform on-site testing. These logs take place at the door to room blank from the first floor hallway. 303 is reported to be within room blank. Test 1. One male disposable dude was ordered to open the door and threatened that he would be transferred to blank duty for non-compliance. He refused, citing extreme fear. Test 2. Another male disposable dude, I think it's the same one, was ordered to open the door and threatened that he would be terminated on the spot for non-compliance. He refused, claiming that if he were to do so, that 303 would data expunged. He was terminated on the spot. Test 3. Disposable dudette, that had witnessed the termination of disposable dude, ordered to open the door and threatened that she would be terminated on the spot for non-compliance. She refused, claiming that if she opened the door, that 303 would data expunged. Researcher Blank was visibly shaken by this claim. Disposable dudette was not terminated. Test 4. Disposable dudette ordered to open the door. Disposable dude was given 1 combat knife by security personnel and ordered to data expunged until disposable dudette opened the door. After 2 hours of data expunged, disposable dudette died from blood loss. Disposable dudette made no attempt to open the door. Addendum, May the 1st, 2010. SCP-303 appears to have claimed the second floor storage room as its own. It has so far disallowed any personnel entry to the room since April the 5th, 2010. It leaves periodically to acquire Foundation property, which is then moved into the second floor storage room. To date, the following list describes all non-classified items taken by SCP-303. 1 blank cryotube, 3 sets of standard Foundation surgical equipment, blank blank blank, 2 disposable corpses, a gasoline power generator, a variety of chemicals including large quantities of tryptophan, phenylalanine, blank, and tyrosine, among others, 1 container of powdered coffee creamer. In addition to this, a number of classified materials have been obtained by 303. Staff are still attempting to determine what specific purposes it may have for these materials. Sounds like it wants to do a science. The doorman is what that was. Next up is the signal. There's a lot of thes. The signal, the whisperer, the frogs, the recorded man, the detergent, the mermaid, the 1976 Kirk Longwood High School marching band. What? Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there. But let's do the signal, and then we'll do the whisperer, and then we might do the frogs. Depends on how long they are. Well, this one's safe. The existence of 304 is currently being masked by the constant transmissions of the blank space probe. This masking transmission is coded so as to prevent the deciphering of 304 by any non-Foundation personnel. This transmission is in addition to the probe's publicly known communication with Earth and its conventional scientific operations conducted by NASA. I stopped because I wasn't sure if I read that right. Sorry. The blank and its currently inactive replacement are on a course that will permanently keep them between Earth and the estimated source of 304. Should this original probe fail, its replacement will immediately begin transmitting at the same frequency and assume all public communications as though it were the original probe. Description: 304 is a radio signal at the blank gigahertz frequency that... Is that gigahertz? Gigahertz frequency that has been transmitting a list of names and their associated titles since its discovery in 1960-something. The data within is a list of world leaders, which appear to be in chronological order. The signal begins in Morse code with King William IV, and proceeds down a list of English monarchs, American presidents, and other leaders. 304's format changes from Morse code to ASCII upon reaching President Lyndon B. Johnson. 304 lists a total of 63 persons with the title of President, as well as data expunged title 05. Then signal changes from that to an as yet undeciphered format, listing an estimated 7 more names. After the 7th undeciphered name, it pauses for 12 seconds and repeats. The reason for the abrupt conclusion of the list is unknown. Note: the data contained in 304 is restricted to 05 personnel and above. Authorized personnel confirm that the list of American and Chinese presidents has proven accurate to date. Data which may or may not identify Foundation personnel will not be discussed in this document. 304 has been determined to be coming from the direction of redacted. However, 304's origin is unknown, as is how long it has existed before discovery. Huh. So that's the signal. Now it's time for the whisperer, which I feel like it's going to be Euclid and probably really uncomfortable. Well, that's one thing right so far. Let's find out if I'm right about the other bit. SCP-305 is presently immobile. Presently? Site-305 has been constructed around its present location, a wooded canyon near Redacted, and is staffed by at least 7 personnel who have prior experience with it and prove resistant to its effects. The remainder of the station crew should be rotated on a weekly basis. 305's effect grows weaker if human subjects are exposed to it for extended periods of time, therefore a resistant subject should be exposed to it for at least 3 hours daily. 305's effects are greatly magnified in individuals with feelings of guilt, particularly over crimes, or mental instability. Therefore, Site-305 is staffed exclusively by non-disposable disposable researchers, and agents who are screened for criminal records and mental instability. Any personnel who begin to hear whispered compliments must be transferred out immediately. If symptoms persist after removal, frontal lobotomy data expunged. I mean, how much data could you really expunge after the words frontal lobotomy? There's really only one thing you can do with a frontal lobotomy, and that's perform one. So, the actual containment chamber of 305 is constructed of standard materials and offset from the rest of the station by a 5-meter buffer zone to protect normal staff from the worst of 305's effects. Site-305 broadcasts a constant status normal signal to Site 19. If 305 becomes compromised during a containment breach, the signal will cease and a heavily armed containment team will immediately be dispatched to its location. Instances of 1 are extremely dangerous and should be terminated on site without attempting containment. As of blank 2000-something, somewhere between 2001 and 2009, all attempts to extract samples from 305 for study are forbidden, see Addendum 1. Okay. 305 is a rock formation of approximately humanoid size and shape. Remote recordings of 305 show that it remains stationary at all times even when interacting with human subjects. When viewed by a sentient observer, 305 appears to be a mobile, animate humanoid of indeterminate sex. This manifestation is formed of cracked rock similar to 305's physical form, and while it is faceless, subjects report that the cracks all over 305's surface begin to resemble human lips and ears as it moves. So, human subjects who make visual contact with this manifestation hear whispering voices. Although recording equipment in the area picks up nothing, and the phenomenon is observed even in subjects who were deaf from birth. 305 will initially ingratiate itself with the subject by whispering compliments. During this phase, the subject experiences feelings of friendliness and trust towards 305. These sensations seem unrelated to the actual content of the compliments, which range from off to nonsensical and disturbing. A short list of reported compliments included, "You have beautiful eye sockets." "Redacted every one of your fingers." "Your neck appears unusually flexible." I called it! I called it! I said Euclid and uncomfortable. I called the hell out of that. In the second phase, the subject begins to hear many voices emanating from 305. At this point, the whispers become critical, attempting to insult the subject or undermine the subject's self-esteem, especially by playing on the subject's guilty conscience. Like the compliments, these insults make little sense when recounted, but have a profound psychological effect, driving the subject to suicide before the final phase in 20% of cases. If the subject is removed from 305's presence during Phase 2, the subject will hallucinate that these insults are emanating from mouth-like cracks that appear to form on the ground, walls, and ceiling. In the third and final phase, the voices will abruptly stop. 2 to 10 hours from the cessation of hallucinations, 305's humanoid manifestation will appear and kill the subject. Causes of death are varied but include severe cardiac infarct. I'm sorry? A small localized area of dead tissue resulting from failure of blood supply. Okay, so, small cardiac infarct is their heart dies. Not heart attack, their heart dies. Muscle spasm leading to severing of the spinal column. Oh, was that all? Or diaphragm paralysis and redacted. So, we have the heart dying, muscle spasms due to the spinal column being severed, to the diaphragm, which helps with breathing, paralyzing, and some other thing we don't even get to see. A subject who dies of any cause after the beginning of the second phase data expunged, followed by the emergence of an instance of one from the second phase data expunged, followed by the emergence of an instance of one from the corpse. One are humanoids slightly smaller than 305 itself. Unlike 305, one seems to be made of smooth, hard white substance, and the lips and mouths on their surfaces are extremely lifelike. 1 have the same abilities as 305, and although they are created with a very short range of 2 meters, this range increases exponentially over time. 1 move at 30 kilometers per hour and seem naturally drawn in a direct line towards the nearest densely populated area, presumably in an attempt to further propagate themselves. 1 are highly resistant to bullets and cutting weapons. Elimination teams should be equipped with heavy ballistics and explosives. In subjects who have entered Stage 2, manifestations of 1 can only be prevented by removal of 80% data expunged. 80% of what? I want to say 80% of their brains. That doesn't really make any sense, but we also don't know what happens to them that makes 1 happen because data expunged, and I feel like this is another one of those entries that's written in such a way that the data expunged are in really bad spots. But at least these data expunged and redacted are properly punctuated instead of just out there. Anyway, on blank 2000-something, Foundation personnel used a remote-controlled device to extract a sample of 305's rock structure. It began to emit loud grinding noises and a low growling sound. Existing cracks in the rock formation deepened and several new ones formed in the vicinity of the removed rock sample. 305 then moved its arms upward slightly and slid 1 foot, about 10 centimeters, across the ground as if taking a step, shedding rock fragments as it moved before returning to its stationary state. Following this event, the range of 305 psychic influence tripled, resulting in several data expunged. Sample proved to be ordinary sedimentary rock, consistent with the surrounding area. Follow-up X-ray scans of the formation itself revealed the presence of redacted, suggesting that the rock formation may actually be an imprisoned instance of data expunged. Upgrade to Keter requested pending. Wow. What could it be that it's going from Euclid to Keter if it's just a rock that talks to you? And now it's time for the frogs. Which I want to say, safe if they're not real frogs, Euclid if they're real frogs. Okay, so I am now going to assume that everything in the 300s that says "the" is going to be fucked up. I can say that because I don't have ads right now, so I don't need to worry about them taking ads away from me from saying fuck, because there's not any. Anyway, let me drink some water, do the Keter voice, and then that'll finish off this episode. Frozen samples of SCP-306 are stored at Bioresearch Site 101. Research on SCP-306 is to be carried out under Biosafety Level 4 protocols. Subjects infected with 306 are to be immediately placed under quarantine. Any items making physical contact with infected subjects or 306 residue are to be incinerated. Personnel interacting with infected subjects are to remain in full hazmat containment suits. Personnel interacting with infected subjects or 306 residue are to remain under mandatory quarantine and submit to twice daily examination for a period of 2 weeks after interaction. Containment breaches within controlled environments will result in lockdown of affected area. Personnel within the affected area are to remain in place until cleared for release. Hazmat teams are to remove and examine personnel for signs of infection. Infected personnel are to be quarantined. Affected areas to be then sterilized. A 1 kilometer radius around any areas experiencing an outbreak of SCP-306 is to be quarantined. Areas are to have all water and sewer systems sealed. Hazmat teams are to be deployed in the area, and all persons in the quarantine zone are to be evacuated and screened for infection. Uninfected persons are to be released, with non-Foundation employees administered Class B amnestics. Infected persons are to be terminated. Following completed evacuation, enclosed areas are to be sterilized with ethylene oxide. In unenclosed areas, controlled burning followed by a ground sweep are to be enacted. Wetlands harboring 306 are to be impounded, filled, and sealed with concrete. Preventing 306 from infecting any large body of water is an Alpha Class priority. Description: SCP-306 is a fungus related to the genus Trichophyton. 306 can infect humans through inhalation of spores or by skin-to-skin contact. Initial symptoms of infection include coughing and sneezing and skin lesions. Lesions caused by 306 display a morphology similar to the benign epithelial tumors caused by HPV infection and reach full size after approximately 2 days. Lesions are prone to shedding, after which another lesion forms underneath. Lesions that fall from the body of infected subjects are light enough to be carried by wind and capable of spreading 306 for years. If untreated, lesions caused by 306 can cover the body within 2 weeks. SCP-306 appears to mainly infect humans, however testing is ongoing to determine any additional carriers. 306 has been shown to grow in nearly all biological matter. 306's primary anomalous property will only manifest when growing on human tissue. When affecting a human, 306 secretes several previously unknown enzymes. These enzymes catalyze an unknown process which drastically alters the structure of cells, resulting in the formation of several extra organelles of an indeterminate function. Approximately 2 weeks following infection, infected subjects begin to develop major physiological modifications. Over the course of the next 3 weeks, subjects rapidly lose weight, followed by the development of abnormal pigmentation and increased water permeability of skin. Subjects who are still able to speak describe being in constant excruciating pain. Over the next 2 to 5 months, symptoms include shrinkage of organ systems, reshaping of the skeletal system, rapid decrease in intellect. This process can last between 2 and 5 months, after which subjects are referred to as 306-1. Instances of 1 on average weigh 25 to 30 kilograms, measuring 0.5 meters in length. 306-1 have an appearance similar to amphibians, but correspond to no known species. Autopsies of deceased 1 specimens have revealed that internal structure remained morphologically similar to human organs following metamorphosis. Instances appear to enjoy human presence and actively attempt to gain contact when in human presence. 306-1 remain extremely infectious, with any direct physical contact resulting in infection by 306. 1 are capable of reproduction in a similar manner to that species of frog. 306 was discovered in redacted Louisiana in a swampy area when locals reported a colony of unknown amphibious creatures, coupled with a string of unexplained disappearances. Foundation agents were deployed to the scene to investigate, leading to the object's discovery. Since this event, blank additional 306 outbreaks have been found in the southeastern United States. 306 is resistant to nearly all treatment, with the exception of high heat. See Addenda. Addendum 1. Testing on 306 has shown the fungus is able to be able to grow in nearly all biological matter, including most vertebrates. However, only humans have been shown to develop any deleterious effects from infection. Due to the possibility of a major outbreak, Dr. Blank is requesting increased funding for research into 306. Addendum 2, memo from Site Blank Director in 1980-something. Based off of the doctor's research into 306, we now consider it extremely likely that large reservoirs of 306 exist in the wild. Because of both the physical danger and danger to the secrecy presented, all sites are advised to monitor for wild 306 reservoirs. Any confirmed vectors are to be dealt with by applicable regional forces. Addendum 3. As of blank 1980-something, Site Blank has reported decreased efficacy of antifungal sprays used to combat 306. 056 has authorized further testing to determine the cause of this change. Addendum 4. Incident 306-3. On blank 1980-something, all 12 contained instances of 306-1 escaped primary containment during routine feeding. Researcher Thompson was fatally injured by a stray bullet as security subdued the specimens. The following is a transcript of an interview conducted with researcher Phyllis immediately following the breach. Addendum 5. Dr. Blank has found that most samples of 306 display wide-spectrum resistance to antifungals, upgraded to Keter as of 1990-something. Interviewer, Agent Leonard. Thank you for being here on short notice. Sure. Alright, first order of business, please state what you were doing when the breach occurred. Well, I was conducting feeding for the 306-1 specimens. What's his name, Thompson was getting the feed and I was going to administer it. I did a count of the specimens, there were 11, but that was wrong because there should have been 12. So I told Thompson to look at the logs and see if one had been moved to another site. All of a sudden there's this flash of motion, and the next thing I know I'm being pinned down by one of the specimens. I don't remember what happened after that. When I woke up, they were gone and security was already there. Thompson was lying on the ground bleeding from his mouth. The guards escorted me out. So you were attacked by the specimens? Basically. I understand that these creatures are normally quite docile. What caused this aggressive behavior? Okay. We've been performing some new testing on the specimens. What kind of testing? Intelligence testing, putting them through mazes, training them, that sort of thing. And what does this have to do with the breach? Everything. These guys were speeding through puzzles, memorizing commands almost instantly. We looked at the data, these guys are as smart as primates. Smarter even than that. We tried teaching them how to read, how to write, and they picked it up in the blink of an eye. I have documentation that says those creatures are no more intelligent than a common tree frog. That's what we thought at first. But this testing, it showed that we were dead wrong. They were writing coherent notes to us. They told us what their names were. We gave one of them an IQ test that scored 127. These things are humans trapped in the bodies of frogs. So what led to their aggressive behavior then? One of them asked it to bring us. One of them asked us to bring in some stuff for it to read. So Thompson brought in this kid's book with some fairy tales in it. Seemed like they had enjoyed it, but after that they started getting angry with us. They were depressed. They wrote notes telling us that we had no right to keep them here, that they needed to be out in the world, they needed to be free. What exactly did they expect to accomplish if they were able to escape? I don't know. Okay, I believe we're done here. Wait, before you go, can you tell me what happened to Thompson? KIA, stray bullet to the chest. It's a shame, he was going to bring them another story. End log. Closing statement. Due to the information revealed in the incident, I order all contained instances of 301 to be immediately terminated. They are now presenting a major obstacle to successful containment of an already dangerous object. Okay then, so that is actually a person! Because when you get formerly Dr. Stan somebody. Because apparently when you get infected with SCP-306, if you live, you turn into a frog. But still human. Yeah, so, that just confirms that anything in at least the 300s that starts with "the" is going to be fucked up. So, this has been Anashi Sasuke. This was episode 72 of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe would be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Later.